Welcome to Solving. Today, we're diving into 3 real-life crimes that shocked the United States. These are stories that leave more questions than answers, revealing the complexities of human behavior and the unexpected twists of fate. Over the next 2 hours, we will walk through chilling investigations, examine psychological profiles, and uncover the hidden truths behind these cases. Please note that all facts presented are based on public records and archival materials. Before we begin, make sure you're settled comfortably. This will be a journey into the darker corners of human nature. Our first case is the mysterious disappearance of a resident that left authorities baffled for weeks. In 2017, in a quiet town in state, a 32-year-old resident named victim name suddenly vanished. One moment they were going about their daily routine, the next, they were gone without a trace. Family members reported the disappearance 2 days later. The local police began a search immediately, but clues were scarce. Surveillance footage showed a dark vehicle parked near the victim's home during the time of the disappearance. Witnesses reported strange noises at night, but nothing conclusive. As days passed, tension in the town grew. Neighbors and friends organized search parties, distributed flyers, and spoke to the press. Despite these efforts, the trail remained cold, until investigators discovered a series of overlooked clues in the victim's home. The investigation focused on understanding the behavior of the suspect. Forensic psychologists analyzed the available evidence to build a profile, someone meticulous, patient, and possibly driven by jealousy or financial motive. Interviews with friends and colleagues painted a picture of a seemingly normal life with hidden tensions. After several weeks, authorities made a breakthrough. A tip from a local resident led them to a secluded area outside town, where crucial evidence was found. While the case concluded legally, the community continued to grapple with the psychological impact of the crime. This case reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and even in small towns, danger can be closer than we think. The meticulous work of law enforcement and behavioral analysts was key to piecing together the puzzle of what happened. The investigation intensified on the 3rd day after the disappearance. Detectives began meticulously reviewing the victim's personal life. Interviews with friends, family, and colleagues revealed small but significant tensions. Neighbors mentioned seeing unfamiliar vehicles parked nearby, and some even reported hearing odd sounds late at night. Investigators also analyzed the victim's digital footprint. Emails, social media messages, and phone records were carefully examined. Although there was no immediate sign of foul play, several cryptic messages raised suspicions of an outside threat. Specialists in cyber investigation were brought in to trace communications and possible connections. Meanwhile, local volunteers combed the surrounding woods, fields, and abandoned buildings. Their observations were recorded and submitted to the police. One volunteer reported finding footprints near a stream that were later matched to shoes owned by a neighbor with a prior criminal record. Forensic evidence slowly began to emerge. Hair samples and fibers collected from the victim's home suggested a struggle had taken place, but the exact sequence of events remained unclear. Detectives worked tirelessly to construct a timeline, noting the victim's last known movements and interactions. Psychological profiling played a critical role. Analysts considered various motives: personal revenge, financial gain, or random violence. They studied behavior patterns of individuals with similar criminal histories and developed a suspect profile that included personality traits such as meticulous planning, patience, and high adaptability. On day 12, a breakthrough came when security footage from a nearby gas station revealed the victim being followed by a suspicious individual. This footage, although grainy, provided crucial insight into the suspect's behavior and route. Investigators traced the suspect's movements, linking them to a series of minor criminal activities in the area. Interviews with associates of the suspect revealed inconsistencies and subtle contradictions, which the detectives used to refine their profile. Behavioral experts suggested that the suspect exhibited a combination of obsessive tendencies and situational opportunism, someone capable of committing a violent act under the right circumstances. The community, meanwhile, remained on edge. Residents organized night patrols and meetings with law enforcement to discuss safety measures. Media coverage amplified public anxiety, but also brought new tips from citizens who had witnessed strange occurrences. Finally, after nearly 3 weeks of exhaustive investigation, authorities identified a potential location for evidence. A remote cabin, previously unnoticed, became the focal point. Search warrants were obtained, and the area was meticulously examined. The findings confirmed the presence of the victim's belongings and additional forensic evidence linking the suspect. The resolution of the case offered closure for the family but left lingering questions about the underlying motives and the psychology of the perpetrator. It demonstrated the importance of careful, methodical investigation and the value of combining forensic science with behavioral analysis. Our second story takes us to a quiet suburban neighborhood in state, where in 2019 a seemingly ordinary family became the center of a shocking criminal investigation. It began on a cold autumn evening. Neighbors noticed unusual activity, shadows moving past windows, cars circling the block repeatedly, and strange noises that didn't match the normal suburban hum. At first, these observations were dismissed as harmless, but the following morning, the unthinkable was discovered. The family home was found in disarray. Doors unlocked, furniture moved, and evidence of a violent confrontation was apparent. The authorities were immediately called. Officers arrived to a scene that was chaotic yet oddly telling, filled with subtle clues that would later prove essential. Detectives began by securing the perimeter and collecting initial evidence. Fingerprints, footprints, and trace fibers were catalogued meticulously. Digital records from the family's devices were seized, including smartphones, computers, and home security systems. These digital breadcrumbs painted a picture of tension and potential suspects. Investigators interviewed neighbors extensively. One neighbor reported seeing a masked figure exiting the property at an unusual hour. Another noticed a vehicle repeatedly driving past in the days leading up to the incident. These testimonies, while seemingly minor, formed the backbone of a timeline that would be critical to understanding the crime. The police also examined the social circles of the family members. Friends, colleagues, and even distant acquaintances were questioned. Analysts looked for patterns of conflict, jealousy, financial motives, or hidden grudges. Slowly, a web of relationships and potential motives began to emerge. The forensic team analyzed the physical evidence in detail. Blood spatter patterns suggested a struggle, indicating the victim attempted to defend themselves. Traces of fibers, hair, and even unusual residues were catalogued and compared to known substances and objects in the surrounding neighborhood. Meanwhile, behavioral analysts developed a profile of the potential perpetrator. They suggested someone who was methodical, patient, and familiar with the suburban environment. The suspect likely had knowledge of the family's routines, using this insight to plan and execute the crime with precision. Over the next week, investigators reconstructed the suspect's movements. Surveillance footage from local stores and traffic cameras helped establish a timeline. Each piece of evidence, no matter how small, was cross-referenced, building a complex mosaic of the suspect's actions before, during, and after the crime. The psychological profile also explored possible triggers for the crime: personal grudges, financial desperation, or unresolved psychological issues. Interviews with those who knew the suspect revealed a dual life, outwardly normal behavior masking internal conflicts and obsessions that escalated into violence. The community's response was intense. Neighbors organized watch groups, meetings with local law enforcement, and coordinated efforts to ensure safety. Media coverage amplified both fear and awareness, leading to new tips that eventually became pivotal in identifying the suspect. After weeks of painstaking investigation, authorities apprehended the individual responsible. Evidence collected meticulously over time, combined with psychological analysis, led to a confession. The resolution provided justice for the family, but the case left a lasting impact on the suburban community, highlighting how appearances can deceive and how complex human motives can be. This story emphasizes the importance of thorough investigation, attention to detail, and the integration of behavioral science in solving crimes that, on the surface, seem inexplicable. Our third and final story takes us to State, where in 2020 a crime occurred that left both investigators and the public baffled. Unlike the previous cases, this one involved a series of puzzling events that required not only forensic expertise but also in-depth psychological analysis. It began with a seemingly minor incident, a break-in reported at a residential property. At first glance, there appeared to be no theft or harm, just disrupted belongings. But investigators soon realized that the unusual pattern of the intrusion suggested a calculated and deliberate act. Over the next few days, a series of clues emerged that deepened the mystery. Items were moved in specific arrangements, messages were left behind in cryptic ways, and surveillance footage captured fleeting glimpses of a figure who appeared to anticipate the actions of the homeowners. Police began to reconstruct the events, analyzing every movement and interaction. They created a timeline combining witness reports, security camera data, and physical evidence from the scene. Behavioral experts were consulted to understand the suspect's intentions and motives. The suspect's psychological profile revealed a highly intelligent individual with obsessive tendencies. They exhibited meticulous planning, an ability to manipulate perceptions, and a pattern of controlling situations from a distance. Analysts suggested that the crime was driven by a mix of personal fixation, thrill-seeking, and a desire for psychological dominance over the victims. Interviews with neighbors and acquaintances provided further insight. Many reported strange behavior leading up to the incident, late-night wandering, unusual patterns of communication, and subtle threats that went unnoticed until the crime occurred. Each detail, seemingly minor on its own, was crucial in piecing together the suspect's mindset. Investigators faced several challenges: limited physical evidence, misleading information, and the suspect's calculated attempts to cover tracks. Yet through persistence and detailed analysis, they slowly uncovered a pattern linking this crime to previous incidents in nearby towns. This suggested a broader, premeditated series of actions rather than a random act. The breakthrough came when forensic analysis identified trace materials left behind by the suspect. Combined with behavioral patterns and witness accounts, authorities were able to predict the suspect's next move and ultimately apprehend them before further harm could occur. The case concluded with the suspect facing charges, but the story remains a chilling reminder of how the human mind can orchestrate crimes that are simultaneously subtle and highly calculated. It also demonstrates the critical importance of psychology in criminal investigations, especially when physical evidence alone is insufficient. This mysterious case leaves us pondering the complexities of human behavior, the motives behind seemingly inexplicable actions, and the delicate balance between chance and planning in criminal activity. As we come to the end of today's journey, we reflect on the three cases we've explored: the disappearance of the resident, the shocking murder in a suburban neighborhood, and the mysterious, psychologically complex crime. Each story, while unique, highlights the unpredictable nature of human behavior and the profound impact of criminal acts on communities. What stands out in these cases is not only the crimes themselves but the meticulous work required to uncover the truth. From forensic analysis to behavioral profiling, investigators must combine multiple layers of evidence to solve these complex puzzles. The importance of careful observation, attention to detail, and understanding human psychology cannot be overstated. For those watching, these stories serve as a reminder that behind every crime, there is a human story, one that involves victims, families, communities, and often, perpetrators whose motives are deeply rooted in their experiences, choices, and psychological makeup. True crime is more than just the events themselves. It's a study of cause and effect, of how decisions, both ordinary and extraordinary, can lead to life-altering consequences. It's an exploration of morality, society, and the fragile line between safety and vulnerability. We encourage viewers to reflect not only on the crimes but also on the lessons they offer. Awareness, vigilance, empathy, and critical thinking are crucial in understanding the world around us and the behaviors of those we encounter. If you found today's exploration compelling, consider subscribing to Solvane for more in-depth stories of real-life crimes, psychological analyses, and investigative insights. By joining our community, you'll gain access to detailed accounts, expert commentary, and carefully curated content designed to keep you informed and engaged. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Which case intrigued you the most? Which psychological insight surprised you? Your engagement helps shape the content we create, ensuring that Solvane continues to deliver thoughtful and impactful true crime stories. Finally, don't forget to like this video and share it with friends who have an interest in real-life mysteries and investigative storytelling. The journey into human behavior, the search for truth, and the lessons learned from these cases are experiences worth discussing. Thank you for joining us on Solvane. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the next story.